Alrighty guys, finally a long-awaited video is finally being filmed. I have held off on this as long as possible just because it is a very emotional topic, but I have a lot of people asking me. Today's video is going to be Leighton's birth story. Leighton is my second. She is now going to be a year old, which is what has pushed me to finally film this video. She was born at 33 weeks. And she spent an entire month in the NICU. And at that time I looked on YouTube every single day for videos like this of a premature birth story or NICU mom things, and there's really not very many things out there, so I think it's important to me that I film this. I also wrote in my journal whenever Leighton was in the NICU that I wanted to help other NICU moms, and if me sharing my story just helps one other mom or gives just one other mom that hope that they're looking for, or even to just feel a little bit better that they're not alone or that other people have been through it, it might help them. And if I do that for one person, then that means everything to me. So Leighton was born at 33 weeks. I had my baby shower at like 32 weeks. I had some cramping prior to whenever I started having contractions. I had cramping, I believe at like 20 weeks is whenever I started having contractions, but I thought that they were just like cramps, and then I thought, oh, they're just Braxton Hicks. And before I actually started going into labor, about a week before, I had gotten a pedicure. A pedicure is what put me in labor with my firstborn. My firstborn was a full-term baby, and then anyways, yeah, so I got my feet done the day before my baby shower, and I had some pretty bad cramping, but it was contractions for like an hour and then they stopped. So I talked with my doctor. My doctor said, if anything lasts, if it's like 2 hours, then you're in labor for sure, like for sure. But what I didn't know about that is my doctor was also like 45 minutes away. So technically if I'm having contractions for an hour, I should probably start heading that way, like rather be safe than sorry. So I have her baby shower, and then like less than a week later, my parents are out of town, my grandmother is out of town, and I'm babysitting my parents' kids. And I'm having like pretty bad contractions later in the night. I honestly, like, I felt her like drop, like my belly just got heavy and she was very low, and then I just got one contraction and it was like a big first contraction. It was like very strong. My whole tummy got tight, and I was like, it didn't like feel right, but I was like, I'm way too early. And I was thinking, this is my second pregnancy, so maybe this one's just different, because with Callie I never had like any Braxton Hicks, so I was like, maybe because this is my second, my body's just preparing differently. I have no idea. So I have that big contraction and I'm like, oh my goodness, what the heck. I shower, I calm myself down. I'm texting my mom. She's away in Vegas. She's actually at the Route 91 concert, so Leighton being born early actually saved all of my family's lives, because they would have still been there had she not been born. So I'm calling my mom, telling her that I'm having contractions. She's telling me it's probably just Braxton Hicks. They're probably going to stop. And let me remind you, like a week before I had them for an hour consistently, and then they just stopped and I was fine. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, you're right. So I let it go. I actually have the contractions in my phone to tell you exactly how long they were. Okay, so the contractions go for more than an hour now. They're like an hour and 30 minutes. So I call my doctor's office and I tell them, and they're like, okay, it's probably Braxton Hicks. If you feel like you need to come in, then come in. And I must be like a champion at giving birth or something, because these contractions, they felt bad, but they didn't feel like I like needed to leave and go to the hospital. But I don't know if it was because in my mind I was telling myself like, I'm only 33 weeks. There's no way, it's way too early. These are just Braxton Hicks. I'm not actually in labor. So my water breaks and my brothers and sisters are all stressing, and I call my mom and I can hear her terrified on the phone. And I'm like, I'm gonna take a shower really quickly because I wanted to like rinse off before I got in the car. And my mom was like, no, go to the hospital right now, because my mom just knew like your water breaks. For her, her water broke and babies were coming. Same with my daughter Callie. As soon as my water broke, it was like time to push. So we got in the car and I was having contractions all the way to the hospital. Again, my hospital's 45 minutes away. So, or the hospital that I wanted to deliver at was 45 minutes away, but we have one in town that is just a little, or a lot less trustworthy. Oh, hi. She just woke up from her nap. She's so cute. Asks me, are you sure you don't want to try and go to the hospital that you wanted to deliver at? And I'm like, no, there's no way that I would make it. I'm barely going to make it to this hospital. So then as we get closer to the hospital, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can feel her like coming out. Like I felt like she was like gonna come out any second. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have the baby in the car. And then we got to the hospital. I made it to the hospital, breathed through a contraction, walked inside the emergency room and told them like, I'm having a baby right now. Like I don't have time to fill out any paperwork. I need to be on a bed. She's coming out right now. They put me in a wheelchair, wheeled me back to a room, laid me on a bed, and then took off my pajama pants. I know, TMI. And I just laid there in the shirt that I was wearing, and I would start, and like my body began to push. It wasn't even, you know, whenever you're in labor, like you're not even pushing. Like in movies they say that like you push, and I'm sure that maybe other people do, but once you're at a 10 and the baby's like coming out, your body just kind of naturally pushes. So, and the nurse was like, you can't push, you can't push. And I was like, I'm trying not to. Believe me, I don't want to do this either. But it just was natural. And and the nurse was like, she's breech, you cannot push, you need to listen to me. And she kind of like got in my face and made me know that she was serious. She also told me that the doctor wasn't here and that he lived in Temecula and that he wouldn't be there for 20 minutes. And Leighton was literally already coming out. I didn't have an IV in my arm. I didn't have a little monitor on me, like nothing. And then I had to, she was coming out no matter what. There was no time for a C-section. She was breech. So they were trying to tell me to stop pushing because she was breech. And then they just came up with it, I guess, on their own. Like there's no other way for us to get her out. Way too late for a C-section. She's coming out. So they just delivered her breech. I'll insert a picture of me and the nurse. I believe that I have one. But yeah, so a nurse, an RN, delivered Leighton fully. The doctor wasn't there for a while. She was born and I didn't even see her like at all. She was born, they cut the thing and then they left. And I was like asking them, is she breathing? Is she okay? What's happening? And they kept her in the other room. Then they came back and they told me she's okay. And then I had to lay down. They told me that I had to keep laying down for like an hour for whatever reason. Then the doctor finally got there and delivered the placenta. And then they helped me get on a hospital gown. And then they put the IV in my arm for what reason, I don't know. And then they put the monitor on me. And then an hour later I was able to walk to the nursery. But before I even got up and walked to the nursery, they came in and told me that they had called Loma Linda, which was one of the like best hospitals around, and their like first responders team were coming to pick up Leighton and that they were going to take her. So I was like freaking out about them taking her, but then I was like a little bit comforted because I knew that they would take much better care of Leighton and provide her with all the things that she needed, and that they were a lot more trustworthy than the little hospital that I delivered. So luckily God was 100% on our side. I was able to do it with no medication at all, not even an IV, not even a hospital gown on. And after an hour I was able to walk in and see her, and surprisingly they actually let me hold her before the Loma Linda people got there, so I got to hold her for a little bit. But they were there, I would say they were there 30 minutes after I got to her room. So an hour and 30 minutes after she was born, they were there to pick her up. So yeah, and I felt fine. Like after I gave birth to her, I felt like I could run a marathon. Which is good because I feel that God did that for me because he knew I would have to go to my baby the next day. So they wheeled her out of the hospital, and that was like the hardest thing ever. I hated being there and not being with her. But the doctor, I gave birth to her at 1 o'clock in the morning, and the doctor discharged me the next day at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I was able to go and be, because the hospital that they took her to was about 45 minutes away. So he discharged me early so that I can go and see her, and I didn't have any medications that needed to wear off or any stitches or anything like that. So my healing was pretty easy. I had nothing, you guys, like not even a phone charger. So now I know specifically, like all these moms post videos on YouTube like what to pack. I know exactly what you need. You don't need anything. They literally give you everything. You need an outfit to go home in, a phone, and a phone charger. That's it. That's all that I needed. I needed clothes to go home in because the ones that I went to the hospital in were soaking wet from my water breaking. But something very nice, that the lady that actually picked up Leighton from the hospital, she knew that I was upset, obviously, about her taking Leighton, so she texted me personally on her cell phone a photo of Leighton in the back of the, it's like an ambulance. And yeah, and I was in the hospital and I remember looking at that and just crying, but being so grateful that she sent me that photo. And then the next day I was able to be next to Leighton, and then I couldn't hold her for a little bit because of all the cords and connections, and she was having quite a rough time the first couple days in the NICU. I'd say the first maybe like week or two. But I'm going to film another video about our NICU journey because that's a whole nother story. I journaled the whole process, so I'll be able to really share. But she's now happy and healthy, and it's almost her first birthday, which is like insane. Her birthday is supposed to be, her due date was November 14th, and she was born September 30th. And I just can't believe that she's already going to be 1. Looking at pictures and stuff still makes me like so sad. I feel exactly what I felt the day that she was born. And I remember I was like, I like could not believe it. Like after she was born and I like went home, I was like, did that really just happen? So now I'm gonna introduce you guys to Leighton, even though she's a mess right now. Here's Lele. Say hi. Say hi. She looks like a little boy right now because she's got green on and no bow in her hair. But she's quite healthy. You can tell I ain't missing no meals. Huh. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Leave any questions below. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. But yeah, and eventually, hopefully soon, I will have a video of her NICU journey. We just have a bajillion things going on. We're planning a wedding and moving into a new house and planning a birthday party, and then after her birthday party, it'll be Callie's birthday party, and then after the wedding, it'll be Christmas. So we've just got a crazy busy life. If you would like to follow us along, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
This is so cold.